Oh, right. Talking.
Penguins on a playground. Where was I?
Welcome to Honest Jams, the songwriting podcast where two friends live in protest of the notion that you shouldn't write a song every week. I don't know who this anti-weekly song establishment is, but I'm against them.
Yeah.
There's probably people who think you should be spending
certainly.
your time
earning
there's money.
Religious zealots that don't even believe in music at all.
Songs all the time.
Yeah, we're pro songwriting here. And we are pro bringing on pro guests. Like Jamie Lee Hart is with us. I'm so excited. She is a singer, songwriter, dancer, playwright, cosmonographer. I made up that one, but if anybody could be a cosmonographer, I think it would be Jamie Lee.
I immediately started getting to work in my head.
What are the tasks of a cosmonographer?
I feel like it's to write maps of the stars, but there's art involved too.
Cartographer plus.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Usually we like to just start with talking about whoever our guest is, life and music, and the way that music kind of originated in their life. Where did that come for you?
Well, music came first for me as dancing. That was like my early.
Like how old we talking?
Immediately. Like I guess my first dance recital is like 2 or 3. And then
like taking lessons,
but always dancing with Grammy. Grammy taught me how to swing dance right away, so that big band sound was there. Grammy was always boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo singing songs like that, so that was kind of like improvisational boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo songs are constantly going through my head in daily life. But
I've seen some of the pictures from the outfits of those dance recitals in your memories.
Classic.
Love them. You gotta love the design on that.
I love finding out people who did dance as a child and getting to see those pictures of them.
Like lots of Tool.
Less Tool, because I was more. Jazz was my so it's a lot of lycra, like a lot of spandex, a lot of neon, like sequins.
Right, especially with 90s or whatever early
90s.
80s.
Oh, yeah. 90s, late 80s, totally. Yes, all that, and the hair, of course. Yeah, perfectly. Goes with that lycra style. But I didn't start writing songs until I got a guitar when I was 13.
Okay.
And my grampy gave me like a small guitar, and played that for a while and like wrote songs in college and stuff.
Do you remember why you were writing? Or
I mean, like most of them now, like I remember like remembering one of them, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and being like, oh my God, I can't even like sing this. It's so angsty. It's just so.
I know some of the things you're willing to say when you're younger.
It's so much emotion, like, and trying to be poetic, but like, it's just screaming. It's just the emotion that's screaming, which is not that different from the way that my songs are now. They're not subtle feeling.
Yeah. Were you hoping to express those things to other people, or were you just kind of like doing it for your own sake?
I think I was just feeling good, like making songs that harmonically, like music feels very strongly to me, like, and so like making songs that kind of like soothed myself while I got to like kind of be in a journal writing mode back then. But then I never really like defined myself as a musician or a singer or anything like that, and had like a couple of experiences that were like that kind of scared me off from it for a number of years.
Like,
well, I was like gaslit by somebody that I dated in college.
Oh, okay.
Who I was like, oh yeah, I can play the guitar, and I like played a couple songs, and he's like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, no, I don't know how to play. And then turns out like he totally could rip on the guitar, but like just thought maybe I would feel bad or something. But that that was like weird. So then I was like, oh, maybe I'm terrible at this, and like nobody wants to. I don't know, you know. But now I just don't care.
Right.
Like,
Well, you'd been developing your voice as an instrument in musical theater.
oh yeah, for sure.
Years. So you had
did
that
musical
musical
theater.
side.
Yeah. But that's its own animal.
Yeah, you can
for
still
sure.
kind of think of yourself as an actor.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're doing that.
Yeah,
as
because you're
opposed to a
not
musician.
yourself on stage singing a song that you wrote about feelings that you have.
Right.
You're just in this suit of someone else it's their emotions and it's their moment. And acting has always been that way where it's just like, it's different for
Do you
sure.
have a favorite character that you played in a musical?
Yeah, I played the same character that Ben Vereen played in Pippin, which is like, I forget what the character's name is, but he's kind of like the master of ceremonies. He was sort of like the puppet master behind the scenes.
Okay.
And it just meant that I got to do like awesome jazz dancing because that's what that called for, that late 70s.
Right.
She does a cha, jazz hands, not near my face. I call that move cha. Cha. Anyway.
So was that your primary way of performing musically?
Probably, yeah. And then when I moved away from Portland, Andy Combs gave me a ukulele, and I started playing it like a little bit, like cover songs. But it wasn't until I moved to California and met Eric, or I met Eric, then moved to California, and he was like, "You're a musician now." I was like, okay. And then almost immediately
Do you want to explain who Eric is?
Oh yeah, Eric's my husband, and we're in a band together called Your Song, My Song, and we write songs for kids. Oh my God, there's a huge spider in the corner.
I love it.
It's amazing. We write songs for kids, like about growing up and like little anthems for riding your bike or saving the planet, as you well know.
I've heard those
Because
songs.
both of you have played in this band before and record music with us, which we're so excited about and grateful for.
Okay, so that's the first time in your life that you're saying that you actually felt like when you were performing musically, it was you that was
Yeah,
the
like
voice.
it was probably then, and you know, I was working at this like play space for kids, and so the people who owned it were like, yeah, and this is the part of the day where you play songs for kids. And I'm like, I don't really know how to do that. Like, I'm just learning. And they're like, yeah, it's going to be fine. And so they kind of like throw you into the fire there. And then the next thing you know, you're like rocking so much kids music all the time that you don't even have to think about it. And then I started trying out some of my own songs there, and it was a very obviously loving crowd. They just wanted to make their babies bounce. And so like if you were doing that, then you were like loved.
Right.
So it was this very supportive environment to learn how to be a musician within.
Yeah.
It's also just like I get to say what I want, and I get to create environments of imaginative exploration for people to go into and experience. And I like doing that a lot because it's very like child-led play. It's like I get to create these imaginative visualizations that I have in my head through music and allow kids to experience it.
Yeah.
And let kids and their parents rock out to music written for kids, yet with the sophistication of adult listeners, you know, with like funk grooves and rock and like full instrumentation and a lot of participation in dancing.
Absolutely.
And an interactive musical
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah. I want to get everyone feeling like they can do that too, but also like that they want to listen to it on repeat and not because their kid is like screaming for them to do it and they're like, if I have to listen to this one more time, but because they're like, yeah, I'll listen to this again for the 200th time.
Yeah. There's something with kids stuff. There's like, you think about movies. People always talk about like good kids movies are always movies that people are like, well, adults like this too,
Yeah.
you know, like it has some kind of resonance where, yeah, you can see, and lyrically too, you get to do that where it's like, you get to think as an adult, like, okay, what is appropriate for a child's like level of development, but still kind of like have a message that is like mature, you know?
Yeah. And I don't really like change my lyrics very much to fit the kids' vocabulary. Because there's certainly some ideas that are hard to grasp, or just words that they're like, I
Right.
don't know that word. But I'm okay with that because I think about the things that grabbed us all as kids that were on like pop radio, you know, like you would just mush together the words and be like, hey, yeah, this is my jam right here. And you don't even know the words. So that doesn't bother me as much.
My favorite version of that is Calvin and Hobbes, where it's just like serious, like subversive shit, you know, like
Yes.
really like intellectual at times, or, you know, that kind of thing. But when I was a kid, I definitely did not like look up the words and like try to understand everything that was being said. I just, the tone of it kind of like took me in or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. Like, it's hard to talk about the destruction of the planet, right? And like the global sadness around that. But I want the parents to have this opportunity to be like, yes, we're all feeling this together. And there's a major fear there around being a parent and having kids in a world that's really uncertain. I'm sure it's always been this way, but more so now because of climate change. And just being in a dark space together and being able to have feelings of catharsis and like real feelings, but also like grooving at the same time among people. Like there's something very healthy feeling about that. And I want to provide that if I can.
Yeah.
And kids can digest like the basic core of these ideas can be, you know, reduced down to their barest elements. Of fairness. I was talking to Eric about the discussions that are happening in his preschool, which is online right now, and just trying to explain to the kids kind of what's happening in the country. I mean, when Trump took office, that was a big explanation that kids needed. And who wants to introduce a child to something so disturbing?
Fascism.
Yeah. Just like disgusting. Yeah. It's hard to talk about. It's so horrible.
But because
it's so multifacetedly horrible.
Yeah. But they get in the storybooks if someone's not fair.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
at the core, all of that discrimination, racism, all of that is just not fairness.
And children as young as babies get fairness.
Right.
Like if you take something away from someone in front of a baby, that baby's gonna see your reaction to it and try and give it back to you. There are like great studies on like fairness and babies get it. Like it's innate in us. Like we get fairness. And so you brought that up, and that is exactly what I did with my song this week.
Oh, great.
Definitely using Eric's preschool's curriculum. Shout out to Step One School.
And the other element that he mentioned was the idea that we're enriched when we get to know people who aren't like us or don't come from the same place we do.
Yeah.
So the fairness and the enrichingness of diversity.
Exactly.
Those two messages bring it home to kids. And
yeah, that's how we learn that differences are okay, you know, is being exposed to lots of different people.
Cool. Well, you mentioned your song. Should we get into them?
Sure.
First, we to talk about what protest songs even are.
What does the internet say on the topic of the day? And if it's wrong, you can let us know by using the internet too.
I hear you wrote an encyclopedia.
it's, you know, it takes
Were there a few things
some
on the internet
research.
about protesting?
There's some information online about the history of oppositional music and protest to oppressive regimes around the world.
Yeah.
There's my favorite though was one sentence from the Wikipedia article about protest songs. Songs which support the status quo do not qualify as protest songs. I feel like they just kind of they explained it all right there.
So
Yeah.
there you go.
So there it is. A protest song is a song that is associated with a movement for social change and hence part of a broader category of topical songs or songs connected to current events. So the abolitionist movement, women's suffrage, labor, anything, any social justice movement you can name has songs associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
In certain cases, a song which isn't overtly political lyrically can be considered a protest song by context. For example, Goodnight Irene was written by Leadbelly, a black convict and social outcast, so its meaning has much more depth than a simple love song if you were just to hear the song on its own without knowing the history.
I love that song.
Protest songs may be abstract, expressing in more general terms opposition to injustice and support for peace or free thought, but audiences usually know what is being referred to if there's a lot of like metaphorical imagery, things like that.
I went more that route for my song.
Oh, okay, great. Phil Oakes once explained, a protest song is a song that's so specific that you cannot mistake it for BS.
Mm-hmm.
And Oakes was a great prolific writer of topical songs in the 60s and 70s, including Love Me, I'm a Liberal, which deftly satirized the liberal centrists of his day's hypocrisy between word and deed. That's a great one. And
it's amazing how basically any social thing like that, you're like, oh wait, people are still doing that exact same thing now.
Right. It was kind of harrowing doing all this research and like just going, oh, that's still relevant today.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so relevant. Like
Yeah.
feeling that one today. Phil Oakes also wrote I Ain't Marchin' Anymore, in which he sings verses from the voices of countless reluctant or disillusioned soldiers. The song's final stanza: call it peace or call it treason, call it love or call it reason, but I ain't marching anymore. One of the most impactful protest songs in U.S. history is Strange Fruit, which was recorded by Billie Holiday in 1939.
I have a lot of info about that, unless you
Sure.
have the info about it.
I mean, we'll probably have some overlap, but yeah, what did you learn about?
So basically, Strange Fruit was like written by somebody else in response to
Abel
seeing...
Mirapol.
That's the one. So it was originally a poem, and then Billie Holiday sang it for some club owner, moved him to tears basically, and then it became this like song that she used to like close out her set.
Yeah, that was Barney Josephson, the founder of Cafe Society in Greenwich Village, which was New York's first integrated nightclub.
Yeah.
Whoa.
She would use it to close out her set and then ask people not even to applaud, like afterwards, just kind of take it in.
Yeah,
And-
the bar would stop selling drinks in advance of that.
Mm-hmm. Simultaneously, while she was kind of like coming up, there was this racist dude, head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, named Harry Anslinger. This article says that he believed that drugs caused black people to overstep their boundaries in American society, and that black jazz singers who smoked marijuana created the devil's music. So that guy then tried to get Billie Holiday to not sing Strange Fruit anymore, and when she refused, he had his men plant heroin or do a heroin deal with her, and then she was arrested and put in jail for like a year and a half.
Oh my God.
After that. Yeah, the whole story is kind of tragic. So then eventually when she came back after she went to jail, the federal authorities refused to issue her cabaret performer's license. So she couldn't perform in nightclubs anymore. She still like performed like at Carnegie Hall and stuff, just like she still had a huge following. She was heavily addicted to drugs and stuff like that. And at some point she checked herself into a hospital, and while she was in the hospital suffering from heart and lung problems and psoriasis of the liver, Anslinger had his men go to the hospital and handcuff her to her bed.
What?
While she was like about to die basically, and that's where she died.
It's horrible. If people don't know,
God.
in general, Strange Fruit was in protest of the lynching of Black Americans, which had reached a peak in the southern United States at the turn of the 20th century.
Yeah.
The song had been called a declaration of war and the beginning of the civil rights movement.
Oh my gosh.
So that's probably the most impactful protest song in the U.S.
And just as
that I
an
can
example
find.
of how, like the mentalities just keep repeating themselves over and over again, in the systematic way, like this song was named the song of the century by like time, and the mentality hasn't changed around all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how far the oppressor will go to, like, the lengths that they'll go to stop something that's making social change, like,
Yeah.
it's obvious that the reason that they did that was because of the impact that she was having.
On a global scale, everywhere oppressive conditions have arisen, traditions of political oppositional music have followed. From Algerian folk music to Zimbabwean Chimurenga liberation music, you can literally go online, type in any country and protest music, and you're set for a couple hours of reading. Of really compelling, also depressing reading. Rabbit hole warning, though. From today's perspective, it's gut-wrenching, really, reading about inspiring revolutionary figures who had major blind spots, namely misogynist, racist, and or homophobic outlooks.
Yep.
I mean, we've gotten used to cancel culture in the modern times, and I can say a little sad good riddance to celebrities who have outed themselves as problematic if there's like an actor or director
Sure.
or something, or even just a pop singer. But when those in the business of political revolution carry oppressive beliefs, it's just more disappointing to me somehow.
Totally.
And it's hard not to judge people by the standards of today.
Yeah.
But
And to
SJW,
think about what standards we're violating with the way that we
Right,
act
everyone
also.
should go vegan, by the way. SJW songwriters of yore were so effective at championing their causes, it's hard to forgive them for that disconnect.
Yeah.
I find it. So we'll save NWA and Fela Kuti and others for another time.
Yeah.
Finally, I'd just like to share 3 recommendations.
Well, NWA, that's a great example. Totally homophobic.
And that NWA movie that came out a couple years
I
ago,
haven't
I didn't see it either, but I know it got a lot of criticism for glossing over, or not glossing over, just not showing Dre battering women, like including journalists and partners. And
This is a good advertisement for intersectionalism.
absolutely, we're heading to the Black feminist movement through music next
Yes!
here. Final
Right.
stop. I found a great article on a tribe called news.com, which showcased the Black feminist movement through music. The movement was founded upon Black women's criticism of both the Black Power liberation movement, which left them unrepresented for their gender, and the women's suffrage movement, which left them out due to their race. So they were just getting that double time, unfortunate underrepresentation. Existing and thriving in a world full of overlapping oppressive forces is a political action in itself. So even songs that aren't like a direct call to action, you know, or a war hero story or something like that, you know, even songs that are about things like just living your life and loving yourself and being true to yourself, that is radical and revolutionary. So I just want to share 3 singers. First up was Billie Holiday, who we've covered now.
Yeah, definitely revolutionary both in her thinking and in, you know, she doesn't sound like anybody else.
Right.
Like musically, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a huge change maker. Next we have Eartha Kitt, whose outspokenness and revolutionary thinking on love and life have set her apart. The anti-Vietnam War sentiment in her speech at a White House luncheon reportedly left Lady Bird Johnson in tears. And the reaction in general to her political stance somewhat derailed her U.S. career, but she continued to shine overseas, fighting the good fight while entertaining the masses. So I didn't realize that she had been shunned that much for those political beliefs. Finally, a modern example, Janelle Monáe, whose 2013 song Queen is often hailed as a modern-day feminist anthem. Here's an excerpt. She who writes the movie owns the script and the sequel, so why ain't the stealing of my rights made illegal?
God, I love her
Just
so
great
much.
rhymestress right there. And she's...
Bisexual icon.
yeah, she's killing it on Homecoming season 2.
That is true, too.
That's beside the
I
point.
know nothing.
She's a fabulous actress. She really is.
Yeah, and I wanted to do the whole list, but you can never know the full list.
Right.
But, you know, Nina Simone, there's
Yes.
a lot of other greats. So that's what the internet told me.
That's what the internet said.
All right. Protest songs.
What did you make this week? What did you make this week? Tell us all about it, 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 tell us all about it.
Can I go last?
Yeah.
Sure.
Guess
Why
choice.
don't you pick who goes in what
Eyal
order?
goes first.
First?
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
because
All right.
so tell me what the link is between your song and Billie Holiday. Is there a link?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
mean,
sure if that's what you were saying.
no,
earlier when
no.
you were like,
But you did say that your song had more of an abstract message, right? Or
I wouldn't
in-
say an abstract message so much as it's kind of like, you know, the main refrain, it's right there. It has to do, is just metaphorical. But there's plenty of context clues, I feel like.
Okay, so it's not a blunt force attack then.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called Seeds Scattered in the Spring. Are you out there in the fight? Or on the outside towing the line like a sailor with no dock to port? Do you see the same future as I do? Are
Are you so fucking fragile that you can't even share things you didn't earn? You didn't earn it. 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 Seeds scattered in the spring, in the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. Grow roots through the pavement, reaching leaves up to the sun. In the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. That your truth out on the line. It doesn't seem to consider anybody, just your precious pride. Do you see the same people as I do? Full of passion and joy and the wisdom and anger it takes to make a change in this old town. They push it forward, keep it growing. Push it forward, keep it growing. Seeds scattered in the spring, in the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. Grow roots through the pavement, reaching leaves up to the sun. In the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. Uprising through the concrete and the fields. In the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime. In the summertime, in the summertime, in the summertime.
Lovely.
I loved it.
Well, I mean, that's pretty overt, actually. Now that I think about the
Are the
lyrics, but-
seeds ideas of change?
or people. I don't know.
Kids.
I think I was thinking a little, like potentially also just like thinking about people protesting and that kind of thing. So growing through the pavement. It's
My favorite line was, "Are you so fucking fragile
it
that
would
you
be your
can't
favorite
even
line.
share the things you didn't earn?" That's so good.
yeah.
You knew I would like that one?
Uh-huh.
It's not
I
the
like that one
swearing,
too.
it's the you
Yeah.
didn't earn it.
Totally.
That's the
Yeah, I think the main thing I was really trying to pick words carefully. So many words in society now are so like loaded. Like
Oh,
even when
yeah.
I was using pride, you know, there's a part of me that's like, well, that's loaded with a certain level of like
Right.
human rights stuff. And then I also was then thinking about just kind of something really simple, like I only used 2 chords for the whole song, something that people like you could sing along to is kind of what I was thinking about. I was thinking about, you know, like We Shall Overcome, or, you know, just things that are like classic songs that you learn when you're a kid, when you learn about like civil rights stuff.
and songs that transcend the time and the
Yeah.
specifics about
Exactly.
their subject matter.
Yeah.
Protest songs endure that can be applied to new situations.
Right. But I understand it's kind of a choice you have to make, right? When you're doing it, like, am I going to be like the most topical or like just make it something that's, feels a little general. I don't know. It was, I kind of went back and forth, but went for something a little more general. Just guitar and vocals. So pretty simple recording and writing process. Just kind of kept playing it over and over again until I had the song complete, basically. So, yeah. You want to do yours?
Yeah, sure. Okay. You should know that around this house we've been listening to a lot of 70s Brazilian music, especially Lo Borges' debut album from, I think, 72. And also I've been listening to, I can't loop the rest of the house into this, but I've been listening to a lot of French and Belgian pop from the 80s with female singers that's really like Lizzie Missy Desclous and Leo, and these singers who have a really playful, chatty, kind of bratty style, along with pop sensibilities, and then the
More
Brazilian.
than pop sensibilities. I feel like the stuff you listen to is like
It's
like bubblegum pop.
It's like
poppy pop.
prescription strength, put you in a good mood
It's
kind
pink.
of stuff. And it's in French, so you don't know what they're talking about. You
Right.
can assign any meaning you want. So that's the backdrop for this one, which is called, what's it called? I sent you the lyrics.
International Crafting Hour.
Yes.
All right, get out your scissors and your deconstruction paper. It's international time for crafting hour. Snip, snip, snip. We're cutting off bits of structural power. Wait, wait, wait. Can't tell us apart who's the reprobate. Every link needs to have strength in the chain. We need to needle. Don't use the thread. Toss out the ruler. Again, we will keep rebuilding all systems till they benefit all who deserve. Everyone, snip, snip, snip. Ha 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 ha. Rip, rip, rip. Again, we will keep rebuilding all systems till they benefit. We do deserve to be free to explore without regrets. Forgive, sorry, error.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
It kind of reminded me of do you know Tomze? That record, the Estudando Samba.
I don't,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Victor, when I sent him a mix of this to get his ideas on it, sent me that. And I
Okay.
still haven't looked at it yet because
Oh, yeah.
I've been busy, but
There's this one song where it's just that has that repeated note happening,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
high pitch. It's a really I assume you use that new uke that you have.
yes.
It does a really good impression of that kind of like Brazilian guitar, the cavaquinho, but
Yeah, before I added the electric tenor lead stuff, I was really going for something that could be done by a group just standing on the street. So just a lot of vocals, like, you know, a cowbell, a click block, just all easy things to be mobile and hold. Initially, when I was writing it, it was like call and response. So it was like the cowbell, ding, 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 you know, and then the words repeating the same rhythm. And that was an idea from a lot of protests I've been to,
Yeah.
where, you know, you get a piece of paper and it's scrumped on there as just a bunch of, you know, chants, and then once you get the rhythm, or there'll be a drummer who like
Right.
demonstrates the rhythm, and then you don't have to have a rehearsal or anything. You're just like,
Yeah.
I'm part of this song.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, call and response. It's a huge part of protests.
So that was still there a little bit, but I kind of ended up playing around with that quite a bit.
Cool.
I really loved the thing that stuck out to me was like it's this crafting thing that usually lands on the femme side of the spectrum. And it's historically like women's work or whatever, that all the different ways that women, like the knitting shout out made me think of the French Revolution and women like knitting messages into and then like just all those things that need to happen when you're protesting. Like people need to be fed, like signs need to be made, you know, like women are oppressed. And so like thinking about them as change makers and as sort of insidious change makers too, like it coming through the food and it coming through the clothes that, you know, I don't know. I just love that.
That's absolutely it. I was thinking of those people who aren't maybe the ones yelling in the street, but who are, you know, helping the cause and making crafts. And I just thought, yeah, it just sounds fun too.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to find pockets of joy. Like it's not just people being angry the whole time, you know, like there's something that inspires that joy, and
you have to rebuild.
Create.
Yeah,
Exactly.
people are living while
if you're
they're
going
doing
to
it.
abolish a system, you have to rebuild it.
Right.
And that will take a lot of work and sort of menial work that way. So if you can do that joyously together.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about how you made the song at all or anything like that?
I made a choice to not have bass. That was kind of an unusual one for me.
Yeah.
That custom uke from Lil Timber ukulele is just so rich. The tone of it was so rich. And I recorded it with the condenser maybe just like a foot away. So it was getting some of the room sound. And I didn't EQ it or anything like that. I just doubled the chord progression and I doubled the little thing. And it just felt so full to me without bass.
Yeah.
Like I felt like if I had put bass or more drums than a shaker and a cowbell, that maybe wouldn't have been able. It would have sacrificed some audibility of the lyrics, which the lyrics are very important. So I mixed them kind of louder than I usually would, because I thought the lyrics were important. I mean, my first mix was like, "Get out your scissors." It was really, really noisy.
Cool. Fun song.
Thanks.
Yeah, I loved it.
You want to show us yours?
Yeah, let's just listen to it. We can talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Great.
Preschool playground rule number 1. Keep each other safe, that's how friendships won. When fascist bullies wield their might, we say that's not fair, let's make it right. I will not stand by while you suffer. I will not close my eyes. Dance as action, motion as a movement, pumped up to stand up, let's get grooving. Dancing in the street, they say we've got a revolution. Step back, you lead, now we're cruising. Imagine all the people, Black Lives Matter, stomping out the evil. Black Lives Matter, racist structures we'll tear down. Use your voice, make a raucous sound. Everyday people, Black Lives Matter, all races are equal. Black Lives Matter, everyone deserves to be safe. Yeah, safe, yeah. Everyone deserves to be safe. Yeah, safe, yeah. I'll stand up next to you, make things fair, that's what we'll do. Use our privilege, create space, our voices say stop, that's not safe. Everyone deserves to be safe. Yeah, safe, yeah. Everyone deserves to be safe. Yeah, safe, yeah. I will not stand by while you suffer. I will not close my eyes. I will not stand by while you endure. I will not close my eyes. Anti-racist curriculum, teach 'em, preach 'em, reach 'em young. This discomfort will never be as bad as the racist encounters your black friends have had. Think about it. All lives don't matter until Black Lives Matter. All lives don't matter until Black Lives Matter. I will not stand by while you suffer.
I'm going to have that in my head around here. Safe. Yeah.
Safe. Yeah.
Yeah. So you went the more topical route, obviously.
Yeah, I went topical. I went what's happening right now. You know, like we were talking about my husband's school earlier, and that's largely our fan base is based in Berkeley and around that school. And they've been doing anti-racist curriculum for a while now. And I think that like having kids, it's important to know how to stand up for one another. It's not everyone is taught that it's safe to stand up for people, that like that's something that you can do when you're small. And I get a little emotional about small people standing up.
Yeah, takes a lot of strength.
It sure does.
Yeah.
Like one of his students, I think I mentioned this in the last podcast too, one of his students went to the protest, and he's 3, and he said, Eric asked him what was it like, and he said, "I so small." There's so many people. I'm so small. But like, if you're that tiny and you're learning that like you can go and be with a bunch of other big and tiny people and that it makes a difference, then it's something that's like part of your character, right? These things that we learn that when we're that young. And just like saying Black Lives Matter, like among small people, it's weird to say like on our platform for the first time, you know, having one of my puppets say that or having me say it. And I was like, whoa, why does that feel like a thing? Because that's definitely my stance. And there's a difference between having a stance and using your voice. And I wanted to make it okay to use your voice, like in this with this song.
Yeah, those things become habitual, the way you act. You know, like you have to, sometimes you don't know you can act a different way unless it's modeled for you, especially as a kid. Exactly.
And I'm modeling for parents too, to be like, it's okay to talk about this with your kids. We've all been reading about how Black parents have to have this very scary conversation with their kids at a certain point in their life. Like, there is racism, this is what it is, deciding whether or not to have that conversation before the kid experiences it or not. Like, that's a big deal. And to have the privilege to not have to have that conversation, well, you don't have that. You do have to have that conversation with your kids, you know, no matter what, because we live in a world where racism exists and we have to explain how to stand up for it. That's my perspective.
Yeah. So how did you make the song?
Oh my gosh. So I was on GarageBand and I was like, I need to find a funky beat. And they have this thing on, it's so cheatery, you guys. They have this thing on They have this thing on GarageBand where it's literally an icon. Just wait for it. There's literally a dice icon on it, and you roll it until it gets something that you like. I changed a couple of things a little bit, but mostly
You'd be surprised at how many people write with like
random
loops or, you know, samples are a huge
randomized
part of
loops.
Music. Well, I mean, what's the difference between like digging through records and finding a sample that you like versus like finding a drum sample through GarageBand that you like?
I mean, I like that perspective for sure. It just feels so easy, you know, that it feels like it has to be cheating. And then, so anyway, I found a drum beat and I put like a bunch of different ones together in an order that I liked that gave it enough of a building and changing, and so that there was an arc, because I'm like, this is largely going to be drums. I'm realizing. And then I went and talked to Victor Paul, and he's my absolute favorite to do horn lines with, because I can just, he's like, all right, what do you want here? And I'll just be like, you know, I'll just like honk something out, and he's like, great. And then he just does the exact same thing on the horn, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
And it was and then there was one part that it was totally his idea, which is my favorite horn part. And
the arrangement lends itself really well to being able to hear what you're saying and get the message. It's not like bogged down with a bunch of stuff.
I wanted it to be like something where you could play it live at a protest. Like, you just need a bunch of drummers and a horn section. And then that's a bunch of voices. That's it. Well, I mean, it's not like you're asking someone to like carry a guitar while marching or something bizarro. Yeah, I just wanted it to be really straightforward.
Cool.
Try and write things to my youngest self and all the people that I grew up around as much as possible.
Are we going to hear a version of this from one of your puppet characters?
Oh, heck yeah.
Is Bernice going to sing it, or Barb maybe?
Probably, maybe both. We'll just, I'll have to ask Victor Paul to make me one that just has just the drums, so that I can just
Yeah.
Can we
Do
get a
it
sneak
whenever.
preview of what Bernice would
Oh,
sound
sure.
like singing a little bit of it?
Yeah, I immediately
Future
went
guest Bernice.
Yeah, Bernice. Preschool playground rule number 1. I like need my own lyrics.
No, that was perfect.
I will not stand by while you suffer. I will not close my eyes.
Well, I'd love to dive with Bernice into Bernice's musical history as well at some point.
Yeah, let's, because Bernice will probably have a lot to say about that. Oh my gosh, please have Bernice and Barb on as guests. They will write you
Wait, are they
a
related?
crazy song. They're roommates.
Oh, they're roommates.
Yeah.
I don't know their backstory.
I don't know
And
if
everyone
it's totally
can
clear to me either.
everyone can see them usually
Oh,
every
yeah.
day on a show.
Yeah, we have a week off right now, but Monday through Thursday, we're on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us at @YourSongMySong_ on Instagram and @YourSongMySongBand on Facebook. And we do a show daily at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time.
Nice.
And we would love to see anyone who wants to come there.
Cool.
We interact with everyone, so
Yeah, we've seen it.
it's true.
And if anybody needs anything to listen to, I also have a record out that just came out last week. Saroon has a record out that you can check out on all the streaming platforms. Thanks for being here, Jamie.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Thank you. It was really hard not to get you to be on my sassy chorus.
Oh my God.
Like, you just would have been perfect for that. I had to like step back, 10 feet on some of them and just change my voice around to try to sound like a chorus of gals.
I did the
Yeah.
same thing in my song with the shout outs.
Did neither of you hear me doing those backup vocals?
Oh, I heard
Is
that.
it-
Oh,
you
I
heard
heard.
it? Okay, I figured you guys heard
And I
it.
heard the like guitar, but like the how much you hear things and what it really sounds like is completely you can't detect anything.
Okay, so the only thing, well, I guess we need a prompt for next week, but we have one picked out already. Right?
Yes, it's a cappella.
Acapella. That'll be fun.
I have a friend who does a cappella,
Like a group of
Like,
people with
yeah.
like the beatboxing and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Nice. What I wonder what the rise of that was as a result of. Like, was there some like big thing? Because it was.
I
It
imagine
definitely
it's
wasn't.
have like this, like
Right. There's like barbershop quartets.
yeah.
Then there's the group acapella from Where in the
Like-
World is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with military stuff too, like
Oh.
men singing together where they can't have instruments because like they can't. And then like I'm sure that there was some kind of repercussion of like men going off to war and then women singing in groups together. That's an interesting subject. I'd like to hear
actually
more.
Came across a vocal group in my protest song research from a group called the Hutchinson Family Singers, and they sang about abolition of slavery, freedom, a lot of things, but they also sang about temperance.
Oh.
So they've got some kind of
They
like
from New
to
England?
our standards, pretty hokey sounding songs about old King alcohol. You can look that one up.
Damn.
Just all vocal, but they were like kind of pioneering in 4-part vocal harmony. All right, well, there's only one thing left to say. We can bang on pots and pans.
And still kick out some honest jams.